Welcome, everybody. Um, Lovely to have you all here this evening for this special webinar. Um, we're going to be talking about the power of deep listening this evening. Um, and both Jacqueline and I have some meditations and some exercises we want to take you through to help you to be able to experience um, the power of deep listening and not just talk about it, but embody it. Because I think when it comes to deep listening, I feel that there's a lot of disconnects, a lot of things that can get in the way of us being able to listen deeply in our life. And I feel that for me, in the work that I do, one of the things that I am really working hard on is to help people remove the things that get in the way of deep listening. And when I say deep listening, I guess what I'd like to do is explain that a little bit more. So from my perspective and my experience, deep listening comes when we are listening from a place of heart-centered awareness, when we're fully present and we're able to listen beyond the normal human senses, if that makes sense. Yeah, listen from a spiritual place, from a place of being deeply connected to ourselves and the other person that we're listening to. And when we listen from this place, it allows us to create a healing, connection with that person that wouldn't be possible otherwise. And so there are a lot of things that can get in the way of this, our capacity to listen deeply. And we're also going to talk about that in this webinar and how to remove those blockages. We're going to take you through some meditation, some exercises to help you to experience that, and so that you can get an embodied experience of deep listening. It's not just an intellectual idea. How does that sound? Yep. Good. So there's different types of deep listening. So in my experience, there's deep listening that we have when we listen to other people. Okay, so in our relationships, there's listening to ourselves. Okay, listening to our higher selves, if you want to call it that deeper part of ourselves, the spiritual part of ourselves. And there's listening to nature and animals. Um, so those different types of listening, in my opinion, they're all one and the same, because it's very hard for us to be able to listen deeply to people we're in relationships with if we are not able to listen and hear our own, inner truth and inner guidance and our own sense of, and we don't have that connection to our higher self. It's very hard for us to truly hear someone, because our own trauma, our own past, our own shame-based fear narratives are getting in the way of us and inhibiting our capacity to be able to truly hear them. And so one of the things that I talk about when it comes to deep listening is, what are the shame-based narratives that get in the way of you being able to deeply listen to somebody. And these are the stories and the narratives that we often experience in life, like I'm not good enough, I'm not safe, I'm not okay, I don't matter. These deep core narratives that sometimes have been conditioned into us through our experiences and from our past. And when we're able to question these deep narratives and these deep shame-based fears that we have, and move past them, release them, it allows us to listen from a much deeper place. We're not in fight or flight anymore. We're not in survival mode. We're in a completely different heart-centered space where we're open to possibility. We're completely present, and we're completely available to that person. And that, again, is a very, very different place to listen from. And it's a very different place to live from as well. And so when it comes to deep listening, there's obviously some practices that we can engage in that allow us to listen deeply. Some of those practices are meditation, obviously, is a great practice for that. Breathing exercises, anything that creates heart-brain coherence. A lot of times, in our day-to-day life, we're stuck in our head. We're not, embodied. We're not in our body. We're disconnected to our heart-centered awareness. We're disconnected to our body's wisdom and intuition, and we're just running in fight or flight. So we're not really in a state of connectedness, if that makes sense. So, creating those spaces for inner stillness, disconnecting ourselves from all of the noise, not only the noise, the inner noise, like I'm talking about brain noise that we get from trauma sometimes. I'm talking about the noise that, comes from all of our senses, from sensory addictions, and from sensory imbalances that we have from relying too heavily on our senses and our external world and not connecting to our inner world, if that makes sense. And our nervous system, obviously, because of all these different stimuluses, both inner and outer, we often get stuck in fight or flight. Our nervous system is stuck in that state and in a state of survival. And from that state of survival, it's very hard to experience anything but that fear, if that makes sense. And sometimes with that fear comes a state of numbness or a state of disconnection, feeling like we're not connected to ourselves or the world, if that makes sense. And so, if we can, create some of those practices in our life and make space for them and live from that place, creating heart-brain coherence, being in nature, breaking the mold of those shame-based narratives, breaking free from the limitations that those shame-based narratives create, we can experience a very different reality. It can be the same. We can be talking to the same person, and we can be hearing the same words, but we have a very different experience of them because we're listening from a deep place of presence, from a place of love, from a place of connecting with our higher authentic self, if that makes sense. And so for me, this is really, the work that I do is around helping people remove the blocks that get in the way of that deep listening. And Jacqueline, I'm just wanting to pass over to you to maybe share a piece or to add or anything to that, if you have anything to add or share about that from your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose, yeah, I agree. I mean, there are three different areas of deep listening, as you say, that listening to ourselves, listening to others, listening to nature and the animals. And I guess one of the easiest places to see where we're not deeply listening is when we're with other people. And, most of us tend to listen with kind of half an ear on what the other person's saying and half of our attention on, do we agree or disagree? Do we have something we'd like to say? What are we going to say when it's our turn to talk? So we're not often 100% fully listening to that other person. And then sometimes, yeah, that can be, as you say, some past trauma stuff that can be getting in the way. Maybe what the other person is saying is a bit triggering for us. Maybe they're giving us feedback that's a bit hard to hear. Or maybe something's happening to them that we're finding it very hard to sort of listen to or be with. Or we feel like we've got to jump in and save them or rescue them in some way. There's so many other patterns that we can pick up and have picked up throughout our lives that affect the way that we listen to other people. But when we can listen to someone fully 100%, not needing to fix them, not needing to change anything, just simply being there for them and hearing whatever it is they have to say, fully receiving their experience of what's going on for them, it can create a very, very deep space. And what you might notice is you start to almost hear unspoken things in the background, what the person isn't actually saying in words, but we're picking up something else now beyond just the words when we really start to listen fully. Because we're not only hearing with our ears, we're hearing with our heart, we're hearing with our whole body as well. So what we're picking up from the other person goes way beyond the words that are coming out of their mouth. And in that sense, the relationship between us goes a lot deeper, and the communication that's happening between us becomes a lot deeper as well. So yeah, and of course then translating that into the animal realm, of course, which is, my main area of focus is, how do we communicate with the rest of the world out there beyond the human world. That's when this comes to be a great support for us. The more we can really listen fully, wholeheartedly to the people in our lives, then that sets us up to really hear what the animals are saying. Because let's face it, mostly they're not using words. Mostly they're using everything else. The body language, the feelings, the emotions, the sensations, everything else that our body is picking up beyond the words that are landing in our ears. And that's what's coming from the animals, and when we're communicating with the animals or listening to the animals. So the more we can practice deep, wholehearted listening with other people, the more that's going to improve our capacity to hear and understand the rest of the species that we share this planet with. And then as Ben says, the more we can deeply listen to ourselves as well, going into that place of, what is it truly that my highest authentic self wants in this moment, not my learned self, not my developed personality that's been around for a long time to try to protect me from a lot of things in life. Or maybe it's, given me strengths, but sometimes those strengths might get in the way of real authentic connection. So the more we can keep practicing listening to that true authentic voice, the more we get the guidance in our life becomes much more of a flow, if you like, because now we're listening to that higher self, the higher self that knows so much more about what it is we really want in this moment, what we really need in this moment, what's being asked of us in this moment. And sometimes it might be counterintuitive. Sometimes we might think rationally we know the answer to a particular problem or a path. We have a choice of two paths. We're very clear that that's the one I want to do. My ego self, my personality self wants to do that. But if we can really tune into our higher self, we might be surprised that it's actually the other path is the one that we're being guided to go down. And in my experience, that tends to always be the right one as well, the right answer. I can give you a little story about that. When I was living in the Findhorn community, which I think many of you on here know, that I spent quite some time living in a spiritual community in Scotland called Findhorn. And this idea of deep listening to the higher self is something that they practice in the community a lot. Doesn't mean they're all great at it. We're all still, still got our trainer wheels on at some level, and we forget to do it at times, but it is practiced a lot there. And when it was getting time for me to leave, I thought I was only going to be there for a year, maybe two. And when my 2 years were up, I tuned in to my higher self and I said, right, it's time for me to go now. And the message was really clear. No, it's not time for you to go. There's still things for you to do here. So I listened to that and I stayed. And then the next thing that opened up for me was unpredictable. I never would have imagined that would have happened. It was, completely out of the blue. It was the perfect work for me. It was something I could really bring my full skill set to. And it wasn't even on the horizon when I was trying to make that decision initially. And then fast forward 7 years, every year I was checking in. Is it time for me to leave? No, there's still work for you to do here. Okay, is it time for me to leave? No, there's still work for you to do here. And on the 7th year, I was pretty sure I was pretty comfortable by now. It's like, oh yeah, here we go. Time for me to leave? No. And this time it's like, yeah, it's time for you to go. And I was like, oh, hang on, I've been here 7 years. I'm really comfortable now. I'm not sure if I'm ready to go. I'd quite like to stay here for longer. No, it's time for you to leave. And again, as uncomfortable as it was, I could also feel that staying felt more uncomfortable. When I really authentically connected with what it felt like to stay, to push against this guidance, that felt even more uncomfortable. And so I left. And it was actually, again, the right thing to do. That was when my whole animal communication work opened up. People came, wanted me to run workshops with them. And, none of that would have happened again if I'd listened to my safe voice that wanted to stay in a familiar place. So yeah, if we can really listen to ourselves and listen to that higher authentic self, and it is a practice and it's something we need to keep doing. It's not like we suddenly get good at it and it's just there. We have to keep practicing, keep connected with it. Then yeah, it can give us information and guidance that really helps our life flow a lot better and a lot more seamlessly, you might say. It's like some greater being is guiding our life, which you might believe anyway, but there's a real experience of that, that something else is happening that's bigger than us. Yeah, I can talk some more about animal stuff, but feel like I'd like to go back to you again, Ben, for a while. And I know you've got some, at least one meditation you'd like to take us into, and then I can talk a bit more about communicating with the animal realm.
What's going on? Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Sorry, yeah, no, I just had a bit of a moment of disconnection with the internet connection
Okay.
there. I was still present, but the internet wasn't. Yeah, I'd be happy to do take you guys through a meditation. Um, so the meditation that I love to do with people to connect to your higher self is very simple. And I feel like so often in life, like Jacqueline was saying, there's moments where we get these deep and profound intuitions about what is right for us. And this is really our inner guidance showing us the way. And it's very hard for us to trust or to hear that inner guidance if we're, overwhelmed by, trauma from the past, if we're stuck in fight or flight, and if we're caught up in the all of the things that draw us away from what really matters in life. And so often in life, we can have so many things that distract us from the things that are important, that we kind of develop what I call spiritual amnesia. We forget who we are, and then we forget that we've forgotten. So we get into a state of unconsciousness around who we truly are and what we're here to experience. So for me, creating a daily practice is really like the most important thing. For me to continually reconnect. There's a lot, like I talked about, there's a lot of different ways we can do that. There's gratitude rituals, there's breathing exercises, there's meditations, there's sit spot meditations that Jacqueline talks about. There's many different doorways to connect to your higher self and that part of yourself. And there's not one is better than the other. It's just that what rituals are you creating in your day-to-day life to be able to connect to that part of yourself? And are you doing it consistently? Because in order for us to really connect to that part of ourselves, we need to create some sort of daily ritual, and we have to create space for it to be in our life. Otherwise, we can't nurture that connection, and we can't expect that to grow. Your intuition is like a muscle. It only gets stronger if you exercise it, and the way you exercise it is by connecting to it and by developing daily practices to deepen that connection. So the meditation I want to take you through is a higher self meditation, and it's just simply about getting a message from our higher self. So I want you to get yourself in a comfortable position, and this, if you can, maybe close your eyes, and I want you to take some deep breaths and just become very present with the breath. I want you to just notice and follow your breath as you breathe in and as you breathe out. And just notice the flow of the breath. Just become completely entranced by the flow of that breath. And as you breathe more deeply and you notice the flow of that breath, I want you to let go of everything else. Let go of the past. Let go of the future. I want you can even visualize a big chest. And this is a locked chest. You can put all of your worries in, all of the things you don't want to think about that aren't important right now. And you're going to lock all of those things, past and future and present, into that box. And you're going to put that on a little boat, and you're going to let that float out to the middle of the lake. And it's going to be there for when you get back. But you don't need it now. So just kind of visualize all those things going into that box, closing that box, and just pushing it out gently into the center of the lake. It'll be there for you when you get back. And I want you to come back to the breath again. And as you're breathing now, I want you to draw your awareness down to the space around the center of your chest and heart. And if it helps, what I want you to do is to maybe bring your hand over your heart center. And I want you to start breathing deeply through your heart center. And as you breathe deeply through your heart center, I want you to feel the space around your heart center. Just become aware of the space around your heart center. And as you breathe deeply into that space in your heart, I want you to feel that space getting bigger, expanding outward. And as you become more present in your heart center, I want you to feel the gratitude that you have for your heart, the gratitude you have for your body as a vessel. Your heart beats without you having to do anything. It's been pumping blood around your body since you were first born, and it continues to do so without any expectation. Just feel the deep gratitude for your heart, for your body, and as the vessel of experience that it provides for you, and the beauty that you can experience through this vessel. And as you're breathing more deeply into your heart center, I want you to allow yourself to think of a memory of something that makes you feel deeply grateful, an experience that you had of deep connection, a moment where you felt deeply connected to yourself, the divine, nature, a moment where you felt that your heart was open and you were deeply receptive. And I want you to allow yourself to feel that openness, to feel your heart opening and expanding and deepening, becoming more and more present as you do it. Allow yourself to experience fully the love that you experienced in that moment. What did it feel like? How did your heart feel? And just allow yourself to go there fully. And as you deepen your awareness into this loving presence, this love that you feel permeating from your heart center in the space around your body, I want you to ask your higher self, connect to your higher self, and ask your higher self, what is your message for me today? And just be open to how the message comes through. What is your message for me? And just feel in your body the message as it lands. It may come as a word, a phrase, it may come as a picture, it may come as something very irrational or something you're not used to. But just trust whatever that way that message comes through. Just allow yourself to be open and receptive to that message from your higher self in the form that it comes through. And just allow yourself to fully connect to the essence of that message. And trust that message fully. Trust that part of yourself. Allow it to guide you. And then when you have a message, I want you to thank your higher self and allow yourself to just send appreciation to your higher self and thank it for its guidance, for its wisdom, for its love, and then allow that message to continue to permeate your body. And then slowly, in your own time, you can slowly bring your awareness back to this Zoom meeting and back to your physical senses. And when you're ready, you can slowly open your eyes. So how was that for everyone? Would we like to open the um the group up to sharing a little bit about sharing the message they got? Would anyone like to share the message they received from their higher self?
Hey Ben, it's Karen.
How you going, Karen?
I'm all right. Sorry, I'm a little unwell tonight. That's why I haven't put the video on. But
That's okay. It's great to have
still,
you along.
thank you. Still here. Um, what did I get? I got that I can't deny any longer that I'm a spiritual being and that I'm a spiritual energy worker.
Wow,
So number one, that which you will
that's
already know
amazing.
about. Yeah, and then I also got that I need to find my home base.
Yeah,
That's very important to me. That I need to find that, and also they showed me. I got a visualization of a place in the Blue Mountains. I grew up in the base of the Blue Mountains. Excursion we went on in Year 7, which was like to a beautiful, like there's lots of natural swimming holes in the Blue Mountains, and it was like one of the best days of my life. I remember it very well, nearly every moment of the bush walk down and the being. I just felt so deeply connected to nature and myself and the people that were with me. And I've never forgotten that day in my life, ever. It's one of my
beautiful.
favorite days of my life, literally. And I was like 13 or 14, so it's years ago. Um, just took me back there, and then and my best friend lives at the base of the Blue Mountains, so I was there, and then I needed to get back in touch with a good friend back in Melbourne, where we lived for 19 years. That it was a heart centered relationship, and that we're both needing each other. So that's what I got. I'll pass it on to somebody else now.
Wow, thank you, Karen. That's beautiful. That's a lovely message. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Pleasure.
Anyone else like to share a message they got from their higher self? Don't be shy.
Hi, I can go next.
Hey, how are you going,
Good.
Pam? Is
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yes.
Hi,
Hi.
Pammy. Nice to see you again. It's been a
Yeah,
long
nice to
time.
see you.
Yeah.
Um, I I felt for a second, oh, am I gonna get anything? Am I going to be able to perceive something? And I could see like the feeling you get when you're floating, when you're snorkeling on the surface of the water. You're just floating and looking down, and that feeling of peacefulness and happiness of being close to nature and the animals, and how it can transport me to another, like a different reality when I'm doing that. And the level of joy I feel is so immense. So I saw an image of someone floating, looking at me, like showing me. And I got the feeling of going back to that feeling. I've been stressed lately because my father is unwell in my country. I'm not there for him. So I think it was remembering to go back to that feeling of peacefulness and connection. And as I said, I saw the image of someone, it was like a woman, I don't know who, looking at me, like connecting through the eyes and floating above, as if I was floating in the water when I snorkel. But underneath us, it looked like a city at night. I could see the lights below.
Wow.
So the way I interpret it is going back to that feeling of calmness and happiness, even when I'm going through moments of stress, and try to close my eyes and feel that level of joy and that it's all gonna be okay.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for sharing
Thank you.
that with us. Very beautiful. Yeah.
Mhm.
Amazing.
Yeah, really lovely. And it sounds like maybe you can connect with that image now, and that image can take you back to that feeling again. Quite a
Yeah,
powerful
yeah,
image, if you're floating like
yes,
that, and then the city and the lights below you. Yeah.
yeah. Good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And that's a great point, actually. Like, one of the things that's very powerful in any meditative practice and connection practice is having an energetic anchor. So what are your energetic anchors? And like the things you were describing there are very clearly like energetic anchors that you can use in other practices, just to, like, you think of that thing and automatically it brings you into that space of connection, if that makes sense. So the more we do that too, the more we can hardwire our nervous system and body to just anchor straight into that state of being that's centered around that energetic anchor. That's a great way to do it. So thank you, Pam, for that. It's very, very, very powerful. Would anybody else like to share their message that they got from their higher self? Okay. There's a few smiles there.
I'm happy to share.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Willa.
There was I thought it was quite a prosaic message initially. It was to my sister is coming to stay with me over Easter. And the message was to enjoy the time with her. And it's to do with the fact that I really connect with her
Mm,
and how important connection is to me. And the fact that I just realized how, I'm living by myself at the moment. And I realized that I would like to live with someone again. And I'm wondering, I realized that if I could have a connection like I have with my sister, I could do that again. And
yeah, wow.
so it was interesting.
Yeah, wow. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Yeah, and a deep connection with ourselves and others, is like the most important thing in life.
Mm, mm,
So
mm.
it's very powerful. Thank you, Willa, for
Yeah.
sharing that with us. It's very powerful.
And thank you also, Willa, for demonstrating that sort of process of kind of following the thread of what you got. You said it felt very prosaic at first, and yet as you
Mm,
sat with it, the kind of the meaning behind that initial image came through for you. So yeah, that's another thing, isn't it? The first thing that lands may not always make sense to us, but the more we sit with it and just allow it to filter in, the meaning becomes clear.
absolutely. Yeah, like trusting that fully can be it can be hard sometimes. Sometimes it goes against the grain of our conditioning or our conditioned self. So sometimes it's like creating a state of receptivity where we're actually receptive and actually able to hear, you know, that message can be in itself a process. So that's really, yeah, really powerful
Yeah.
to be able to trust that in yourself fully. That's a really important thing to do to
And it
not
kind of
always. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry. So it kind of just reminds me of also what Kieran said as well. You know, you were very clear, Kieran, your message about, you know, you are a light worker. And, you know, there's that piece where we know when it comes from our higher self that it's the truth and it's not just our ego talking that would like to be a light worker. Do you know what I mean? And I heard that in what you said. But there's a really clear distinction. There's a very clear difference. You know, we know where it's coming from. We know it's the truth. We know it's coming from a higher place. And it's not just, you know, wishful thinking or, you know, maybe a bit of ego in there. And equally, we don't dismiss it because we know it's not ego. We know it's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
so, you know, following these threads, following that vibration, how it feels in your body, you know, the truth of it will be really clear to you. That's all really important to keep practicing and, you know, noticing those aspects of the deep listening.
Yeah,
Something
absolutely. I
else I'd like
agree.
to say,
And you
I
know,
was
when you get
quite,
that, oh, go ahead. Yeah,
Yeah, well,
go ahead, Willa.
I was quite surprised how clear the message was. I mean, I guess I've, you know, tried to connect with my higher self at times, but I was surprised at how clear the message was tonight. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. That's amazing. Yeah, and you know, the reality is that our higher self is never not there. It's just, you know, are we taking the moments to actually connect to it and you know, and to ask it for guidance? That's really the number one thing. And like Jacqueline was saying, when you get a message from that depth of truth and love, there's a profound certainty that you have and a knowing that this is so important and it's true and it's undeniable. And so that, you know, trusting that part of yourself, but also sensing in your body the power of that truth and you know, and how it feels in your body is a really important piece, you know, of that, very important part of that process as well.
yeah. I just
Wonderful.
want to pick up on a thread on that as well and bring it round to, you know, animal communication. So with the deep listening, it's not only about listening to them deeply and being able to perceive what they're sharing with us and what they're experiencing in other ways, but it's also about the better we know ourselves and the more we're familiar with that sense of which is our higher self. What is our higher self saying? You know, how does it feel when we're really listening to our higher self and we're sitting in that place of authenticity? Then when we're communicating with the animals, it becomes really, really clear what's theirs and what's ours. It's one of the most common questions I get asked when people are learning animal communication. How do I know I'm not making this up? And this is one of the key practices, that we know we're not making it up, because we start to become familiar with how it feels to get messages from our higher self. And that's the same place the messages come from when they're authentically coming from the animals as well. So I just wanted to bring that piece in as well, because it's a really valuable practice in regards to, you know, if you have any ambitions to increase your connection and your communication with animals, then this is a great practice to help you with that too.
Absolutely. No, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Jacqueline. Yeah, no, I would definitely agree with that as far as it goes in relationships and, you know, wanting to heal, you know, create healing in relationships. If we can listen from that place of deep love and reverence and just seeing that person like an I see you moment, when you see them deeply as the spiritual being that they are and you see yourself as that as well, and there's no separation, that can be profound in relationships, and the healing capacity that has, that I've experienced in my own experiences with that has been profound. So that's also, you know, a great practice to practice as well, is to, you know, to really listen to somebody from that deep place, you know, and that connection to your higher self. Listen with an open heart, and to just listen, you know, for to hear the person, not, you know, listen to understand them, listen to truly hear them, instead of listening to react or listening to you know, to get back at them or to be defensive. And, you know, because when we're stuck in our protective personality and we're defensive and we're in fear and guilt and shame, we don't have the capacity to truly hear that person, because it just bounces off. You know, we're closed in that respect. So that's a very powerful practice, to listen without an agenda, to listen without a story. to listen from that place of heart-centered awareness and truly hear the person, just to hear them, not not to judge them, not to to reply, not to have to know the answers, if that makes sense. Jacqueline, do we want to have a little talk about some of the workshops coming up, or do we want to get some questions from
Yeah, I
people?
wonder if anybody's got any questions before
Yeah.
we go from there, from anything we've said so far, or from the practice that you just took us through.
If it's okay, I'd just like to thank Pam for something, if that's all right. It's Kieran.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, Pam, I can clearly see that you're Latino, and I got a secondary message actually. You came directly after I spoke, and you were speaking about your father being ill at home, and I got that message to connect with my Latino friend back in Melbourne. I think you might even be from the same area, and her father's sick back in where she's from, and it just reinforced my message that I actually need to connect with my friend Maria, because I think she may need me. So thank you, Pam. I think it just solidified. I can't get the word out.
Solidified. Yeah.
Thank you. my
Yeah.
second message. So thank you.
Thank you for saying that. I'm glad it helped.
Thank you.
That's so beautiful. I feel really emotional hearing you share that.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, this is what happens when we connect. It's like there's so many synchronicities that can happen from that when you connect to that higher part of yourself and you trust it fully. The synchronicities that take place in your life, it's amazing. I'm always blown away by what happens when that connection is there. So it's we open ourselves to the infinite possibility of what when we connect to that part of ourselves, and then it's we realize that part of ourselves it's never not been there. It's always there for us whenever we need it. We just have to tune in and allow ourselves and create the space and time to do it.
Yeah, and it's not an indulgence to do that as well. I know there's times when I'm really busy and I'm like, haven't got time to meditate, haven't got time to sit, but we always need to make time for it. It's not an indulgence. It's not a kind of the thing that gets time when everything else is done. It needs to be one of the priorities. And when we do that, then life flows so much more easily.
Absolutely. And life becomes so much more rich. It becomes more full, and we recognize the deeper meanings of life become available to us. We live from that place of truth and from love, and that's my experience. And love is one of the key things we're here to experience. And without that, in the absence of that, I would argue that our experience becomes very very limited, and it becomes it gets a lot of suffering it happens as a result of the absence of that. So love is really the cornerstone of our existence.
Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions about anything that we've said so far, or about the meditation, or anything else that's come into your mind?
Yeah, can I just ask you, when you're communicating with animals, do you hear what comes from them in English, or how,
Yeah.
how does it happen?
How does it happen? Yeah, in your native tongue, whatever your native tongue is. Yeah,
It
because
is, right, okay.
because the information's coming in through all the different ways that we can receive information, that this body can receive information, whether that's feelings, physical or emotional, whether that's visual or auditory. And because it's this body that's translating the information, it will translate it in our own language, if you like. So it's not that the animal's speaking in that language, but we're understanding it in our own language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Anyone got any more questions they'd like to ask?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the other thing I want to just let you know about, if you haven't already seen emails on the subject, so we are offering a couple of workshops later on this year in the spring. If you're, I think everyone here is in Australia. Yeah, so in the Australian spring, in September, we're going to be at near Coffs Harbour. We're going to be offering a 6-day retreat, which we ran last year for the first time, and was actually so lovely that we've added an extra day to it because everyone just wanted more time, so, and more space and more going deeper, so we've made it slightly longer this year. And it's really on a beautiful property. It's in an area called the Promised Land, not far from Bellingen. And yeah, it's just a really beautifully held space, and the people that are custodians of that space have been working with the nature there. There's a lovely herd of horses that we work with as well. So that's very nourishing. That's sleeping on the land, either in your own tents or your swags or your camper van or whatever you have, or you can rent a bell tent as well. That's the other option. So it's a real immersion into nature, that one, for six days. And then the weekend after that, Ben, we have, oh, sorry, the dates of that are the 12th to the 19th of September. Yeah. And the weekend after that, Ben, we have, we're at your place, aren't we?
Yeah, we have a 3-day Healing with Animals workshop at my place in near Bonville on Crosby Glen Road. So that's going to be really powerful as well. It's a shorter workshop. It's just the 3 days, but still very immersive and deep dive into animal communication, and as well as from my piece is working on reclaiming our authentic selves, and working on dissolving the blocks that get in the way of that. And a lot of those practices that we do are with horses again, embodied healing practices with horses to help us reconnect more deeply with ourselves, and become a clear vessel of that love, and again that enhances our capacity to be able to connect and communicate powerfully with others and with animals.
Yeah, so both of the workshop and the retreat are both a combination of our work. You will get time with the horses, with Ben's work, and then you'll get time learning to or improving your communication with animals. And with the retreat, we go, beyond animals. We go to the land, we go to the different plants and the other beings that are there as well, the trees, the creek, whoever's there. So, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's going to be amazing. Again, I always love running these workshops and these retreats. It's been a great gift and a blessing in my life to be able to hold space and play my part in that. So it's a great privilege, and I'm really excited and looking forward to exploring, deep diving again, and immersing myself in that with other people, and yeah, always some beautiful things that come from that.
Oh, and of course, with the retreat, it's fully catered as well. We have found this amazing camp cook last year, and she's coming back this year. And somehow she managed to create the most incredible meals that suited everybody's dietary needs. I don't know how she did it, but she suited the meat eaters and the vegetarians and the gluten-frees and the dairy-frees and the celiacs, and everybody had something amazing to eat every single day.
Yeah,
Yeah, so there's that too. If you're
absolutely.
a foodie,
Yeah,
you're going to
yeah,
love the cooking on site too.
yeah. It's a beautiful venue, like Jacqueline was saying. It's surrounded by beautiful mountains. Very scenic. Just being there, it just radiates a sense of peace and connection, and it's just a very beautiful place to just spend time in. Relative to whether you're actually being there for the retreat or whether you're just there for the scenery.
Yeah, and I think, well, we're going to send out the recording of this to everybody who's on this call, and also to anyone else who's registered. We'll also send you the links so you can find out more about those 2 different workshops. And yeah, hope to see some of you there.